Hello, people of the world watching car reviews on the internet. Welcome to this, the 2025 Subaru WRX TS Edition, which stands for Tuned by STI, Subaru Technica International, and ironically, I have one of my own stuffed in the corner over there, except mine's a clone. Let's analyze. And yes, this is the exact same muffler you get on the standard WRX models. Stainless in construction, real metal tips, dual muffler to be exact. The number one complaint you will hear about TS models from the vape community is that it is not a real STI. And you'd be correct, it is a parts catalog car. All of the Subaru Technica International components that you get on an STI model, minus the engine and transmission. So let's see what they added. Out back, I can already see a difference. The WRX TS utilizes a mostly steel in construction, double wishbone rear suspension with cast iron knuckles. Now this is different for the TS. You have an aluminium upper wishbone. It's pillow ball, just like the other models though. Now that little robot barnacle indicates these are the STI adaptive dampers. As far as the rear anti-sway bar goes, that's confidence when you can get it on there without looking. Unchanged from the other WRXs at 19mm. Housed in the center of a steel rear subframe is Subaru's R167 open-type rear differential with brake-based torque vectoring capabilities, as well as a 4.111 final drive ratio. There are no STI tie braces or draw stiffeners added. Now in its fourth year of the VB generation, the WRX TS edition weighs in at 3,430 pounds, putting it in about the middle of the WRX model lineup weight-wise. Plastic, hairy cardboard, still just the one resonator on the mid-pipe, and it measures in at 63mm in diameter. As far as the transmission goes, thankfully the TS edition only comes with Subaru's 6-speed split case manual transmission with a viscous type center differential, and this is paired with Subaru's symmetrical all-wheel drive, giving you a 50-50 torque split front to rear. And this here lies the main difference between a standalone STI model WRX and a tuned by STI parts catalog WRX, and that was that the STI models came with a hand-built Aijin 6-speed manual transmission with the DCCD center differential controller to vary the torque split front to rear, as well as upgraded front and rear differentials that could handle way more abuse than a WRX drivetrain. Up above the steel subframe, the TS utilizes the same dual pinion steering rack. Up front, it utilizes a McPherson strut style suspension with aluminum lower L arms, cast iron knuckles. Front anti-sway bar measures in at 23mm in diameter. Again, paired with those adaptive what? Subaru? That is not an STI logo. That is a ZF logo. Not that there's anything wrong with ZF, but I haven't seen a single STI logo underneath this car, and it's supposed to be mainly just suspension upgrades. They should just call it the ZF edition. Time for the braking test. Nothing behind me. Ready, set, go. Okay. Wow. That was spicy. I felt like I was taking a deer hoof and grinding it on a cheese grater. That's what the tires were doing to the asphalt. That was a terrible analogy. The braking's excellent. Good stopping distance too, as you should expect. That braking was just made possible thanks to a 6-piston monoblock Brembo caliper finished in the original color scheme of the first STI sold here in the United States, with a 340mm or 13.4-inch drilled front rotor The wheels, they are a 19 by 8.5 with a positive 55mm offset Enki alloy, wrapped in a set of 245, 35, 19-inch Bridgestone Potenza S007 tires. Reflective beam LED fog. Interesting, a red WRX badge rather than cherry blossom like the TS logo. It took me 4 years to realize there's a reflector in the rear over fender. Neat. Out back you go down to a 2-piston Brembo caliper with a 12.8 or 325mm drilled rotor. The wheel and tire, same size as you have up front. In the name of science, it is now time to give it the beans. But first, I must assess the bolstering. It's perfect. As a bit of a tribute to STIs of the past, you got blue and black leather with black Alcantara center Recaros. Excellent ass bolstering capabilities as well. The headrests have WRX TS embroidered in cherry blossom stitch. They are heated. Just like the seats, you got that blue leather with black Alcantara suede and blue stitch. As far as drive modes go, there's a little button on the steering wheel that says mode. You can press this and go from comfort to normal to sport, sport plus, and individual. And within individual, you can custom configure your power unit, whether you want a Hobart or a Dash 60. Steering, comfort, normal, sport, suspension, comfort, normal, sport, and eyesight, eco, comfort, standard, or dynamic. I'm kind of surprised they made it sport plus and not sport sharp. One of the biggest improvements for the 25 TS is this new digital gauge cluster. You can see it has STI on the tack, and I believe this is one of the only places in the car it has a STI logo. Oh, wait, make that 2 STI logos. Forgot about the STI start button. As far as the traction control goes, a button down here on the left, press it, and you can engage track mode with limited stability, or when not in Sport Plus mode, you can press and hold it and fully defeat everything and then put it back into Sport Plus mode. Whatever reason, it just instantly defaults to track when you're in Sport Plus. So let's see what this thing can do. Give this thing a little assistance and let it eat. Ready? A little bit of wheel slip. Good. That red line comes up so quick. Yep, this thing gets out of the hole pretty quick. This color combo is everything. Love it. Hood struts, lightweight hood. Underneath the hood of the 2025 Subaru WRX TS Edition is the FA24F, which is a 2.4-liter dual overhead cam, horizontally opposed turbocharged 4-cylinder that produces 271 horsepower at 5,600 RPM and 258 pound-feet of torque from 2,000 to 5,000 RPM. The other primary component, which has always separated a true WRX STI from a S4 or a TS model WRX, was the engine. And in the past VA generation, it was even more evident because the WRXs had the FA series engine, whereas the STI had the older EJ series engine. With that said, the TS Edition's engine is unchanged from the other WRX models at 2,387 cc's with a 94 by 86 millimeter bore stroke, a 10.6:1 compression ratio, the dual AVCS active valve control system on both intake and exhaust cams, as well as the twin scroll turbocharger running at 12 psi. Bit of a missed opportunity. I would have loved to have seen them include the STI flexible front strut tower brace, STI oil cap, and STI radiator cap from the catalog in Japan. I think any Subaru nerd out there will agree it's those little details that would make a TS Edition special and desirable for die-hard enthusiasts. All right, handling report. Let's see what the suspension did to this car. I mean, it's already a phenomenal handling car to begin with. The one takeaway I have noticed from this VB generation is the steering rack. That was the one thing that I really felt stood out between the VA generation. It just had that much better of a steering feel. It feels more like an STI than it does a WRX in the handling department. It's not overly stiff. It's like if you were to wrap a baseball bat in rubber and smack a ball with it. It's still, you're getting hit, but it's softened in the right way. That made no sense whatsoever. I don't know, it's just, it feels proper, like an STI suspension. It's got that nice raw mechanical feel that you don't really get from any other performance vehicles on the market right now, I feel. Honestly, the WRX is kind of the last of its kind of just that raw analog mechanical drivetrain that you get the feeling of when you're driving it. Where it is lacking a little bit, that I noticed just from experience of driving STIs in the past, is that you can tell this is a WRX transmission. There's just a distinct feel of strength really between the two. It feels like you gotta be a little bit more careful with this than you would in an STI. And then there is the power, but I mean, the power compared to STIs of the past, unless we're talking like an S209 here, I don't really feel like this car is that down on power. I feel like it makes more power than what it says on paper. It's got great torque everywhere. Where I don't like the FA24 in this generation WRX is the red line is just way too early in this thing. I mean, the JDM WRXs, the EJs with the twin scroll turbos back in the day would rev to 8,000 RPM. If you compare this against its rivals, I mean, even the closest rival, the GR4 Corolla, what you can feel the difference in the drivetrain of this being longitudinal versus the transverse all-wheel drive in the Corolla. The Corolla does feel in ways a bit more spicier than this, like a proper STI would. So I feel that is a little bit of a hair up performance-wise on this. Where the suspension really shines, where you notice the biggest difference, is at lower speeds or on tighter bends. You can just absolutely chuck this thing into corners and it grips. It's grip for days, and that's where it feels like an STI suspension, but even better now with this adaptive suspension. The TS of the VB generation by far is the best WRX that Subaru has ever made, which leads me to believe that this could be the best STI they could have ever built had they made one out of this platform. I can't exactly compare this against the S4 WRX, which they have across the pond. We'd never got that here in the States, but I feel the S4 TS had a little bit more STI spice to it than what this would have. But then again, they always get the better stuff in Japan than what we have here. Pretty much the only thing that gives away that this is special is the Cherry Blossom Red TS badge and the Crystal Black Silica wing. I'm pretty sure it's Crystal Black Silica. Subaru Blackica. We'll go with that. What I'm curious about is, nope. I was wondering if there was like an X brace or anything different back here for the TS. Oh, tire inflator, toolkit, a bunch of foam. Well, okay. Even though the back seat is really not that much different than the other WRX models, it feels special just because it's blue. That was deep. Got two plastic blanks where you would have heated seats, USB-C, USB-A, map pocket, dual map pocket, suede, leather, faux carbon. Oh, the back windows are auto up, auto down. I didn't even notice that in the other WRXs. I don't know if it adds any comfort to the seat, having it done in Alcantara suede, but it just feels a bit softer. And no giant hole cut out in the roof because performance. Center armrest. Ooh, okay. If you would like to take this Penguin home that was used in this car review, it's one of one. It's this exact one. I'll list it on my website for sale, and let's name him together right now. He looks like a Greg. This is Greg. If you would like to take Greg home and make Greg yours, you feel free to do so on my website below. Thankfully, it still has a rip-it style e-brake, not a stupid electronic one. Also, black Alcantara suede on the dash of blue stitch, and it flows down to even more black and blue leather on the side of the transmission tunnel. The TS also gets its own unique flat-bottom steering wheel, blue stitch. As far as the infotainment system goes, nothing really has changed in here. I just reviewed the 24 TR Edition WRX. I'll put a link to that up above if you want to know more about this. As far as the Harman Kardon sound system goes, for as loud as this thing is, you would expect it to be over 1,000 watts, but it's not. It has nice, crisp, clear highs, decent bass. Overall, not bad. The other thing that Subaru did for 25 is they introduced a new color, Galaxy Purple Pearl, which is kind of go back to the Plasma Pearl purple that they had on the wagon generation STI. They have a good color palette for the WRX, I'd have to say. A lot of good colors to choose from. The thing I like the most about this car is at about 1,500 RPM or so, it's got a nice deep grunt to the exhaust. It's not very loud at wide open throttle, but down low, it's got some good bass to it. Now I'm going to switch my mode into comfort. Wow. No joke. I noticed that instantly. There's like little bumps and then instantly when it's comfort, they went away. I mean, I can see why Subaru and STI would outsource to ZF because these dampers are amazing. Now I'm gonna switch back into normal mode. You gotta be shitting me. I noticed the difference between comfort and normal. Sport. I don't feel like I noticed much of a difference between, no, maybe a little bit. Fuel economy, it's unchanged for the TS edition with the manual, and considering the performance you get out of this thing, and that it's got a true longitudinal mounted all-wheel drive with a Torsen center, it's not bad. It is now, oh, there's a bug. It is now time to give the 25 WRX TS some scores, starting with the bean score, the assessment of the feeling you get in your gut when you give it the beans, and it earned a rating of. Next is the cookie score, the assessment of value, and as this is equipped at about $45,000, it is getting a rating of. 45 grand seems astronomical for just a WRX, but to put things into perspective, exactly 20 years ago, I purchased a brand new 2005 WRX and I paid 24 grand for it. This car, inflation adjusted to 2005, would be $28,000, and this has Brembo's Recaro interior and the adjustable suspension, so I would say this is fair value. It's just inflation and money is not worth anything anymore. Followed by the wrench score, the assessment of ease of maintenance, and it earns a rating of. It just gets bigger and bigger. That's what she said. Followed by the squid score, the assessment of handling, and the WRX TS gets a rating of. Phenomenal. Nailed it in that department. I don't care if the suspension says ZF STI or XYPZ DDQ. They nailed it. And lastly is the Penguin score, the assessment on how much I personally like a vehicle, and it earns a rating of. The only thing that held this back from being a perfect score is I would have liked to have seen more actual STI parts on this thing, even if it's not that big of a deal, like a strut tower brace or a battery hold down, just little things that say, hey, STI had their hands on this car. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. I'll see you soon with another. Bye. This thing makes it good when you whip it. Whip it good. Da, 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 da. Do, 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 do.